Long ago, in a time when the forests were thick and rivers ran wild, there lived a young hunter named Chemtatrawta. One bright morning, he set off on a hunting expedition, his sharp blade strapped to his side. As he walked along the riverbank, he paused to sharpen his weapon, the scraping sound echoing across the water. Just as he finished, something unexpected happened. A mischievous prawn leaped from the river and snapped at him, landing a sharp bite right where he least expected, on his most sensitive spot. Chemtatrawta yelped in pain, his face twisting in fury. Without thinking, he slashed at a thick bamboo stalk nearby, severing the large vine that draped from it. Now, this was no ordinary vine. It was home to the creeping tendrils of a wild plant, and when it tumbled to the ground, it landed with a thud, right on the back of a jungle fowl resting below. The startled bird flapped its wings in alarm, scattering leaves and twigs all around. But in its panic, it also disturbed a nest of giant ants hidden beneath the undergrowth. The ants, now furious at having their home destroyed, swarmed out in an angry frenzy. They bit at everything in sight, including the unfortunate wild boar that had been napping nearby. With a startled squeal, the boar sprang up in rage, its sharp hoofs tearing through the forest floor. In its wild stampede, it crashed straight into a cluster of banana trees where a colony of bats was sleeping soundly. The bats, now wide awake and furious, shrieked and scattered into the sky. One, however, flew straight up the trunk of a mighty elephant resting near the village. The bat's tiny claws and flapping wings inside the elephant's trunk caused the giant beast to trumpet in agony and fury. Overcome with rage, the elephant stormed into the village, tearing through huts and breaking whatever stood in its way. In its rampage, it flattened the home of an old woman who lived alone at the edge of the village. When the dust finally settled, the old woman stood before the wreckage of her home, her eyes blazing with anger. Without hesitation, she marched straight to the village well and, in her fury, did the unthinkable. She soiled the very source of water that the villagers depended on. Soon, the villagers gathered in outrage. "Why have you done this?" they demanded of the old woman. She crossed her arms and snapped, "Why did the elephant destroy my home?" Determined to get to the root of the matter, the villagers confronted the elephant. "Why did you crush the old woman's house?" The elephant, still shaking its great head, bellowed, "Why did the bat fly into my trunk?" So they turned to the bat. "Why did you fly into the elephant's trunk?" The bat flapped its wings and cried, "Why did the wild boar destroy our home?" The villagers sought out the wild boar next. "Why did you trample the bat's home?" The boar snorted and grunted, "Why did the giant ants bite me?" The villagers then questioned the ants. "Why did you bite the wild boar?" The ants scurried about angrily and replied, "Why did the jungle fowl scatter our nest?" The villagers turned to the jungle fowl. "Why did you destroy the ants' home?" The jungle fowl ruffled its feathers and said, "Why did the vine hit my back?" And so they asked the vine, "Why did you fall on the jungle fowl?" The vine quivered where it hung and answered, "Why did Chemtatrawta slash away the bamboo I clung to?" Finally, the villagers confronted Chemtatrawta. "Why did you cut the vine?" And Chemtatrawta, still nursing his wounded pride, shouted, "Why did the prawn bite me?" At last, they reached the prawn, who had no excuse at all. It wriggled its tiny legs and stammered, "If you roast me over fire, I will turn bright red, delighting the children. And if you drop me into water, I will turn pale and white." Curious, the villagers did just that. They roasted the prawn over the fire, and it turned a glowing red. Then, they dropped it into cool water, and its color faded to a soft white. But as soon as it touched the water, the prawn flicked its tail and cried out, "Ah! There is no place like home." With that, it darted into the depths of the river, disappearing into a hidden cave. Determined not to let it escape, the villagers chased after it. They used the broad leaves of a jungle plant to poke around its hiding spot. They prodded and jabbed until, at last, the edges of the prawn's mouth became rough and curled. And that, my friends, is why to this very day, the prawn's mouth looks just the way it does. And that is the end of the story. A tough tar.